Hey y'all, it's your Queen Pimp Sun Kids coming through right quick, right fast, maybe, with a Royale review for the Bernie Mac show. Now, if you want a proper, somewhat detailed intro and overall commentary on the show, be sure to watch the video right before this one. And I'm gonna make a playlist just like I'm making playlists for all the other ones. So it should be in order. So if you want to get straight into the review of season 1, episode 1, you in the right place. But if you want a little bit of background, overall commentary, like I said, intro, like I said, you know what I'm saying, make sure you tune in to that first video. It's gonna be labeled Royale Review Bernie Mac Show Intro Commentary, something of the sort. I ain't posted it yet. At the time of which that I am recording this, I haven't posted it yet. But yeah, just let you know it's over there if you want it, okay? And without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and get into the pilot review for season 1, episode 1 of the Bernie Mac Show. Can't remember if I reiterated this in the intro or not, but I know that I said it in the intro video. So just in case you didn't know, just in case you didn't see that other video, and just in case I didn't say it in the intro of this one, this show is shot what is described fundamentally as single camera format, but ultimately it is shot like a reality show. It is formatted in docuseries reality show form. And with that being said, we start off with your guy Bernie Mac in his confessional, aka his, what they call it, man den, male den, his little den where he go sit and have to himself and whatnot, and talk to us, America. Talk to us, the audience, about everything that he is doing, to speak to us rawfully, kind of sort of as he would on stage, minus all the cuss words. But to talk to us honestly and rawfully and truthfully about his genuine feelings about the whole situation that he and his wife and his niece and nephews are in. Basically, in his confessional, he gives us the uncut version, even though, like I said, the cuss words are cut because television. But we start off with him enjoying a cigar, so it sets the scene that this is his safe haven, and that this is where he feels comfortable. This is where he comes and let loose, okay? And he tells us about how much he loves and enjoys embracing a good cigar. And he also lets us know that he didn't come here to talk to us about cigars. He came here to let us know that he is about to off, aka drop one of them kids off, okay? Speaking in code, so I'm gonna say it again. He came to let us know that he is about to off, aka drop one of them kids off. And instantly, we get much of what makes Bernie Mac, and much of what makes him so enjoyable, and that is that he is relatable. And while he is relatable throughout the show, we also see that he says what he means and means what he says, but he is not beyond reproach, and he is not beyond basically compromising for the people and the things that he loves, but specifically the people that he loves, like his wife and his nieces and nephews, who are ultimately now his kids, okay? But we're gonna hold that thought. He addresses the fact that a lot of America is not gonna agree with the way that he handled the kids, because he believes in the quote-unquote traditional disciplining of children, like much of America. However, much of America does not agree with that form of parenting. And I must say that I also do not agree with that form of parenting. While I also understand that nobody is perfect and that parenting is a process as well, okay? And when you don't know what to do, nobody gave you, particularly all of the tools that you need to do whatever it is that you're trying to do, you will revert back to what you know. And if what you know is kids being violently disciplined when they do something wrong, then that is what you are subject to revert back to, even if you don't believe in spanking your kids 9 times out of 10. And yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. 9 times out of 10, even if you don't believe in spanking your kids, if you were raised being spanked, if you were raised being physically disciplined, then whenever you have a moment with your kid, and this is, I'm not generalizing people, but I'm saying it's a high possibility that if you grew up with physical violent punishment, you would more than likely at some point resort to that same physical violent type of punishment with your kids whenever you reach a moment where you don't know what to do. And like I said, not to generalize, because some people have more support than others, and some people are just made different. And so in those particular cases, some people just have the capacity to not resort back to that, and some people have the support that make it easier for them not have to resort back to becoming what they despised at one point. And let me also clarify too that just because you have a moment of a misstep, like for instance, if you don't believe in physical punishment and you have one of those missteps where you slip up and pop your child, or you slip up and spank them or whatever, it still teaches your children very valuable lessons and very valuable values when you are able to acknowledge your mistake and change your behavior as a result. So I say all of that to say that even people who do have those missteps, it doesn't automatically make them terrible people or automatically make them the world's worst hypocrite or anything like that. You're human. And like I said, however you was raised, whenever you don't know what to do, if you haven't like thoroughly unpacked that and healed that, whenever you don't know what to do, it's just human nature to resort back to what you were originally taught. And once you realize the fault in it, you know, acknowledge it, apologize if needed, and make the change behavior. And like I said, we're going to see Bernie Mac do that. We actually are going to see him do some of that this episode. And so in the midst of his confessional, you know, he basically hit us with a Lisa Ray. Y'all don't know. So he gonna let us know what had happened was. And so we segue into what you could say is a flashback. Basically, I believe it's a flashback to him in the kitchen on the phone. Ultimately, we discover and learn from this scene that his sister done ditched the kids, child. His sister is going off to rehab now based off of his responses on the phone. I'm feeling like, okay, so on the phone he says, they call somebody or they're gonna take you in or whatever. Who called them on you? Because you stole from them or something like that. Like basically you can deduce that his sister is being sent somewhere, which we learn is rehab. So she's gotten caught up in a situation that's more than likely has some legalities to it, where she was doing some illegalities. We know that she is on that stuff. And I am wondering, see, this is what's kind of left open-ended, but I am wondering if it is just like somebody else that was in association with his sister that she stole from and they called the folks on her, or did Nessa call the folks on her? Because I'm gonna point it out, but Nessa is low-key, high-key the parent in the situation. Before Bernie Mac comes in, Nessa has been operating as a parent, not only to her siblings, but one can deduce that she's also been operating as a parental figure to her mother as well. So it just made me wonder, did Nessa call the folks on her? And is that why she abandoned them at the airport? Or did somebody else call the folks on her? The folks came to do a check and the kids spilled the beans. And that's why she left them at the airport. Either one could be a possibility. But I just wanted to honey. Either way, we see his wife Wanda come in. And child, I love that lady. I cannot think of her name right now, but I love to see that lady in shows, movies, wherever she at. I love to see her because I just love the way she acts, and I always love the types of characters that she plays. And this is honestly one of my favorite roles that she has played, because I feel like the vibe that Wanda, the character, gives. Now, the lady that plays Wanda usually plays a thought, a gold digger, if you will. She usually plays that type of character. And so, being the fact that she is with Bernie, most of us that know, that are familiar with that actress's work, we would automatically see her, much like a lot of people would automatically see Bernie Mac and expect him to play a particular type of character. When we see that actress, we often expect her to play a particular type of character. So it makes me feel like they want you to kind of look at her and have the understanding that she is somewhat exhibiting a stereotype of having been maybe a groupie to him, if you will, at one point, or somebody that everybody thought was just gonna be a groupie to him, and eventually she ended up being his wife and proving everybody wrong, that she wasn't just with him for his money, she wasn't just with him for clout, that she was genuinely with him out of love, and all the other stuff is a bonus. And if she want her a man that got money and status, who should be mad at her for that, right? All at the same time. And with all of that noted, it would probably also initially be assumed that she is going to try to talk him out of taking in the kids, and that she would be against the situation and try to work against him with it at every turn. Because when she comes in, she's not giving him any nasty energy, but she is saying to him, you don't know what you're getting yourself into. You might want to think long and hard about that. It's not going to be everything that you would expect. It's not going to be as easy as you think. And that's some real stuff, but it could be very easily to think that she just being negative because she don't want the kids coming in cramping her style. And true enough, she could be reluctant to, making compromises, to all of a sudden snap into motherhood. But at the same time, you can't really blame her for that, because what she's saying, like I said, is rooted in truth. It is something that you got to think long and hard about. It is something that nobody is ever really ready for. It's a process. It's, quite a bit to take on. It's a drastic commitment. So, but based off of the typicalness of it all, I can tell that, they were setting up a scene. Because like Larry Wilmore, I believe, is one of the people that helped create the show. The main creator outside of Bernie Mac and his comedy, if you will. And he was saying that he wanted the audience's point of view to be more observant, which is why he chose to shoot it like this. And with that being said, I feel like they wanted us to think. They wanted us to assume certain things before they reveal to us what it actually is. Which not only correlates with what Bernie was saying in the opening about, oh, y'all think y'all know, but y'all don't know. Let me tell you what actually happened. But it also correlates with the time period, because like I said, Larry Wilmore also said about this being the time where reality TV was really picking up and things of that nature. And also, it was at a very peak point in Bernie Mac's career. So a lot of people probably felt like they knew Bernie Mac, or they knew all about him. They knew all about what he was about because of what he leads with in his comedy. But you get to the show, and you get to the show with your assumptions and all of that. And in the first couple of minutes or seconds of the first episode, they start you off with things that could have you creating even more assumptions and all of that, just to get deep off in the show and show you what it really is and show you a whole nother side, a whole nother dimension and perspective of things. Not to mention that in so many different ways, words, and variations, a main thing that would be said in promos of reality shows back then, and sometimes even now, when there are people who are already celebrities that end up, going to reality TV, they often have the line, oh, you think you know them, but wait till you see them on such and such reality show. Da, da, da. So yeah, it's the thing of, you think you know the story, you think you know this person, you think you know all about them, but wait till you see this show and you're gonna see a whole another side. So I think that fits perfectly with the theme of Bernie Mac in the industry and what they were going for with the show. And when we pan back to Bernie Mac in the confessional, he is going forward to also express to us how he feels like it's the right thing for him to do, to take the kids in, because he don't want them to have to get picked up by no foster home. He don't want them to have to be all throughout the system, being passed around and having to share meals before the other kids. And he also don't want them to have to potentially be picked up by some white family. And he also makes sure that he's stressed that it ain't necessarily about race. It ain't necessarily about race. He just don't want to hear him talking out proper like that. I'm sorry, that was so funny to me. But even outside of them talking proper, I'm going to add for him what I feel like he's also getting at. I'm going to add for him that the culture of it all does make a difference. And you do want to make sure that the kids are somewhere where their culture is respected, acknowledged, embraced, and taught to them by people who look like them. Okay? And then, it's no slight to any white parents who adopted black kids. It's not saying that you cannot, expose them to their culture. But I'm giving you a nugget here that it's best that you basically have black people a part of your village so that you can make sure that they are being properly educated on their culture and their backgrounds and this, that, and the third. Because if you ain't a part of it for real, it's only so much that you can really teach. And they can only really get it if they get it from somebody who is a part of the culture. So, all that being said. So, let's say I wanted to adopt, and the child that I end up adopting just so happens to be Asian. Yeah, I can find some text and try to iterate and regurgitate what the text has to the child and, go watch videos and then come back and try to orally convey that to the child. But I can't speak from experience. I can't be totally sure that the information that I went and found is totally accurate. It would make more sense, and it would go a much longer way if I go out of my way to expose myself and my child to other Asian people. Adults, elders at that, and also people their own age, so that they know what it's like to interact and socialize with people of different cultures, but also people who are like them, are of the same culture, are of the same race, look like them, all that. You need balance. Everybody really needs that balance, because when you are able to be exposed and interact with different people of different cultures and races and things of that nature, it can help you be less fearful and less problematic when interacting with people who are different from you at any rate. But anywho, all that being said, ain't no reason why the kids can't come live with him, especially when he is well off. So he doing what he supposed to do. So we get an outside view of the home when Wanda walks outside and she is getting ready to go to work at AT&T. Now, I wonder what happened with this particular part of the story, because I don't think you hear her reference her job or AT&T very much at all after this first episode. But anywho, she just basically explains to us that, you know, it's not that she don't think it's the right thing to take them in. She just really wants him to think long and hard about it, and she admits that she don't really want to have to constantly explain that she's doing some type of gross, motherly type of duty that has her life of work, because she works for AT&T and they do not play that, okay? So she gets in the car, she speeds off, and we see not only does she work for AT&T, but she is the VP, okay? So if you thought she was just sitting up in the house all day painting her nails, sitting and looking pretty, if you thought she got here just by being sexy in the city, no. She been through that you ain't never saw. Got an issue, what's the problem? We can't solve it. If y'all know what that song is and who the artist is, drop it in the comments. But y'all, basically letting us know that she has her own bag as well. She is not just dependent on Bernie, okay? So don't get it twisted. Boo. So Bernie is headed to get the kids from the airport. Now, it can be deduced that this is the next day. He went to get the kids the next day, or he went to get the kids that night. However, no. He might have went to get the kids that night. He went to get the kids that night because they were abandoned at the airport. So I doubt he let them spend the night at the airport. So yeah, he went to get the kids that evening. And we do get a pan view, let us know that we are in LA. Okay, we was in California. And he is headed to get the kids. I feel like I said that 50 times. Anywho, he's walking through the airport. He's getting stopped by people. And you can obviously see that he's on a mission and he has a lot of anticipation in his face and in his body language. But also, even despite that, he is not rude. So, you know, there are a lot of stories about people who you think are so nice and then people see them in public and they are so rude. Or you see people who you think would be mean in person or might dust you off in person, but then you meet them and they are super cool. And I feel like Bernie Mac fits into the latter of the category where people would have probably expected him to be snooty or standoffish or something, or, you know, something kind of scary or whatever. And obviously people want to approach him, you know, they like his comedy, he's a comedian and all of that. And it is very refreshing for them to show him in a light where, even though he's on a mission, even though this is a dire situation, he still is showing his fans love, signing autographs, taking pictures, being nice and courteous to people. He is down to earth. He is not too big for his own britches. He is not a butthole. He's just a cool dude who happens to be a celebrity who is on a mission to save his nieces and nephews. Now, he stumbles upon this guy here, this very lovely man here. I love how they implement, I ain't gonna say I love it, but I find it very interesting. Interesting in somewhat of a dark, humorous way, the way that LGBTQRSTV characters, no offense, y'all, I hope y'all don't take no offense to that, because it's all love, it's all respect. But the way that LGBT plus people are depicted in like early 2000s work, and he's not doing anything bad or wrong or ugly or anything. It's just very interesting because the things that they allow to be displayed in order to implement to you that this is a gay character. And with that being said, I feel like they wanted to show us that, hey, Bernie Mac is also nice to gay people. Yes, I said all of that to say that I feel like that's a part of why they included that like that. Like, true enough, the character could have not been written as gay, and it just so happens to be that gay man or that very feminine man, non-binary, androgynous, energy giving, whatever, you know, whatever it is he identifies as. He could have just been the one that they like the best for the role. But from my perspective, what I know about early depictions of certain groups of people and what I, you know, everything else that I feel like they were showing us with this scene in this montage, if you will, of him going through the airport, I feel like they arranged that in such a way to show us that Bernie Mac is also nice to gay people. He is not homophobic, as many probably would have expected him to be. So that man leads him directly to his nieces and nephews. Also gives him a bit of background information about what they have been through in the time of which they have landed there at that airport. And he says that the two girls are good. They seem to be very content for the most part. The little boy is showing some pre-asthmatic symptoms. And there are quite a few things about Jordan, including the fact that he is pre-asthmatic, that makes me feel like they may have been more blatant about this if it wasn't for television requirements. But I still feel like it's still implemented throughout the seasons. But I feel like what they were trying to show us and tell us with the little quirks about Jordan is that Jordan was a crack baby. Because a lot of what he had going on were like signs and symptoms of like the effects of, or defects, if you will, of his mama having been on drugs while pregnant with him, or having done drugs around him, like smoking crack around him while he was a very small child, like probably, breastfeeding him, and that stuff is in her system, that type of stuff. So it could be that as well. Either way, I feel like they were implementing to us that Jordan was what would be referred to as a crack baby. He has birth defects that affect him pretty much throughout his life because his mama more than likely was on drugs before, during, and after being pregnant with him. And the way that they respond to him also gives that indication. But so Bernie goes up, introduces himself, like, "Hey kids, it's your Uncle Bernie." Jordan immediately starts screaming, child. Why is he screaming? You would have thought he was scared or something, but nah. Bernie had done stepped on his foot. Bernie had done stepped on his foot. I ain't even know, okay? So I guess you could say they got off on a bad foot. Boodum tisk, or however you make it look. Anywho. So they riding. Bernie is trying to break the ice. And he apologizes to Jordan for stepping on his foot. He's trying to crack jokes. He's trying to warm up to the kids, get them warmed up to him, let them know that they're safe and they're loved, they're in good company and all of that. And they are a bit apprehensive and standoffish. Of course, I'm sure they're traumatized. And Nessa is very, quite frankly, over it. And we know there are a lot of trust issues involved. So, passed by a donut shop. And Bernie is like, "Hey, okay, big ass donut," or whatever. So, that this is also another tactic to try to get through to them and also, put some food in their stomach, because I'm pretty sure that they have not eaten, and I'm pretty sure that he's pretty sure that they have not eaten. So, they they go to the donut shop. Nessa also signals to them to not ask for anything, to basically say that they don't want no donuts, they don't want nothing from him, So we see a first indication of her calling the shots and operating as a parent with them. And that presents the beginning stages of a power struggle between Nessa and Bernie, because Nessa has not had any stable disciplinary parental figure around her. So she has been the authority. So not only is she having to adjust to a whole another environment, she's having to adjust to a whole new dynamic. She's used to being the parent, and now as a teenager, freshly a teenager, 13, she's now having to release authority that she's had for so long as a child. And she's having to release it to her Uncle Bernie, who she probably hasn't seen in a while, after having gone through everything that she's going through with her mother and whatever other chaotic adults that she's had around them and had them around. So Bernie is raving about this donut. Now, I'm sure it's good for real, but he's also using this as a tactic to get some reactions and some interactions out of the kids. So he's talking about, "Oh, this big ass donut's so good. You know what I also should have got? A big ass chocolate milk." And boy, that tickled Jordan and baby girl. Jordan can't even hardly laugh because he finna choke to death on his own oxygen left thereof. Light love and healing to the folks that got asthma, child. Poor thing. But child, he laughs himself into a coughing fit, and baby girl laughs herself into a crying fit. What you crying for, baby girl? Baby girl want a donut. Now, he like, "Child, ain't no big deal. You get a donut. I actually want a donut in the first place." Now, kids be like that. But she also had a conflict of emotions because she wants a donut. Uncle Bernie offering her the donut, and Mama Nessa saying she can't have no donut. And a part of that is her trying to protect them, because like I said, ain't no telling who they done been around, who done gave them cookies that turned out to be some old stuff, you know what I'm saying? So I do feel like that is a tactic of protection. And also, Nessa is trying to secure her position. She wants them and Uncle Bernie to understand that she is the mama. She do not want to release that authority, because her releasing that authority, of course, is power, and she's a child. And also, with her releasing authority, she would have to then grasp hold to trust with this man, another adult that has the potential to fail her, kick her out, abandon her, neglect her, whatever, what have you. But so yeah, Bernie is like, you can have the donut, baby girl, you can have whatever you like, just ask. Nessa gonna say, well, can I have a big ass bite? Now, I don't know, I have yet to be able to make out if she is saying bite, as in bicycle, or if she is saying bite, as in a bite of the donut. Either way, Bernie had to reprimand because she up here saying ass, and she can't be saying ass. So he like, watch your mouth, okay? And she got egg on her face. So they pull up to the house, and I wonder if they used, I'm sure they did though. I'm sure they did use an actual house, but I wonder if that was his actual house or one of his actual homes or rental property or what, whose house is that? Because it is nice. It is very nice. It is very nice on the outside, and it is very nice on the inside. And honestly, it looked like some of the homes off of Secret Life of American Teenager. But we ain't even gonna get into that. So they pull up to the house, and they all seem to have looks of astonishment on their face. But I think Nessa's face speaks the most volumes to me. She literally looks like she has never seen something of the sort, and maybe she has been there before. Or maybe they haven't been to a home of his since before he got it like that. You know what I'm saying? But she looks completely in awe, and it is giving mixed emotions, which I'm sure she feels, dealing with all of the layers of the situation. Because her being the oldest, she's experienced more. So therefore, I could see her having a lot more reluctance and a lot more fear because she's been through a lot more betrayal and abandonment and abuse and trauma. On top of her now being a teenager, which is a very pivotal moment of a person's life. So he gets in and he got to get on the rundown on everything, child. He said, don't touch this, don't touch that, don't touch Rush Hour, don't touch Dolomite, don't touch Pulp Fiction. Them like the movies and things that he named out. I can't remember all of them that he named out, but he named them, child. And he said, don't touch it. And then he gets to his music, child. Don't touch his 8-track, his 808, his James Brown, his Public Enemy, his heavy rap, which is Kid and Play. And it was big emphasis on his James Brown. He said, somebody touch that James Brown, honey, it is going down. Now, y'all like to skip the quick little things. So when they first got in, they met Wanda met them at the door. And she embraces them ever so warmly, okay? Lets them know that she loves them. If they need anything, just come to her. She gives them hugs, kneels down to them, talks to them real tenderly and everything. And basically, she all with it. She committed to it. He committed to going and get him. He done brought him to the house, and she is here for it. She down with it. She gonna do what she gotta do. Despite her concerns, she gonna do what she gotta do. But it ain't gonna make it work. So, one thing she is adamant about, however, baby girl say, I wonder, can you spend a day with us? She said, ooh, baby girl, I would love to. But Wanda is the vice president for AT&T. And she can't just be going around missing days, honey. They do not play that. I honestly wish they would have kept that gag in the show because it's kind of funny. But anywho, getting back on track, Nessa creeps upon more so. Nessa always creeping. So she creep up behind Bernie Mac while he in there watching the game, watching whatever he watching. And he seems to be very into it. And she like, I need to go to the store. I need to get some things. And he like, we got things here at the house. What things you need to get? Get up on my face, type stuff. And she's like, I need to get some personal things. And he like, what's your personal? And then he turns around, he realizes what she's talking about, child. She needs to go get some toiletries. She needs to go get some toiletries. And he like, oh, he don't know how to take it. I'm glad that they didn't pervert the situation though, because some men responding to young women getting their, situation, they can be so very perverted about it and just do the absolute most. But he was just like, I gotta deal with this. Okay, let's go. The reality of the situation. And he like, oh yeah, she's 13, yeah, because, and this is a thing that is very interesting to me too, that happens in real life. When a lot of people, when they last see somebody at a certain age, so for instance, the last time he saw Nessa, she probably was like, let's say 7 or 8. So he's still kind of seeing her as that little 7 or 8-year-old. And it's that moment in particular that reminds him that she is a teenager. And with it being said, he's gonna have to handle her a little different. So he rounds up the kids. They go into the store because he also got to get medicine for Jordan and his asthma situation. So they get to the store, and child, this marks a major climax, at least in this episode, of the reality of what they are truly getting themselves into. So they go to the CVS, Walgreens, whatever, what have you, and get up there. Bernie Mac don't know nothing about nothing. He been giving the boy cough drops for his coughing when his coughing is coming from being pre-asthmatic. So cough drops is not helping him. It's probably making the situation worse. In certain ways, depending on where he is with it, it's probably making the situation worse. So the pharmaceutical lady is looking at him crazy. She's like, are you his parent? Are you his guardian? Like, what is going on here? She looking like she ready to call the people on him. Please don't call the people on him. And then he hear a commotion going on in the background. And it's Jordan and baby girl over there fighting over a box of cereal. Jordan is having a middle child moment. He can't seem to understand that just let the girl head the box, and Bernie Mac gotta go over there. He gotta go over there, break up the situation. Jordan, you older, you can do better than this. Just grab you another box of cereal off of the shelf. And many lessons for Bernie Mac in this situation. One, you trying to get the medicine for Jordan, not realizing you still gotta keep an eye on them kids. He got them, I don't know, he probably had Nessa looking after them, but let's also keep in mind, Nessa has been an adult, but Nessa is a child. And even though Nessa wants to hold on to that power and authority, Nessa also wants the convenience of just being a teenager as well. So keep that in mind, because in other episodes, we're going to see that internal struggle go on with Nessa, with her having to basically make a choice as to whether or not she is going to continue to fight to be the parent, or if she is going to allow herself to enjoy the rest of her childhood. So he could have left Nessa to keep an eye on the kids while he trying to get the medicine. And Nessa said, look, I don't have to do that no more. And she over there doing what it is that she got to do, trying to get her toiletries. And they over there fighting over cereal. So Bernie go over there, break up the situation, try to get Jordan under control. Jordan is having a whole conniption, honey. Jordan is having a whole breakdown. And Bernie is talking about, you got to be a man. You got to be a man. Here's another lesson. This boy is 8 years old. He is a child. He does not have to be a man. He is a child. And that's another one of those relatable and also teaching moments, because a lot of people do that to little boys, especially little black boys, where everything they do is stop that crying, stop acting like that, stop doing that, be a man, you gotta be a man. Sir, he's 5. Sir, he's 8. Sir, he's 13. Sir, he's 15. He's 16. He's a child. Even at 18, he's a child adult. He should be at 18, he should be in preparation to be doing the things that, you know, a man does, but he is still a child. So still, like, stop rushing the little boys to grow up. And so Jordan starts to undress himself, child. And Bernie starts to, like, pat him on the butt. Now, he ain't doing too much of that, but he is patting him on the butt, like, as a form of discipline. Like, hey, pull it together. This is not acceptable. Get right. And other folks around is looking. It's an embarrassment, honey. They probably want to call the peoples on him because he was already over here. Ain't know nothing about nothing with the boy stuff. And now he over here spanking the boy having a whole conniption. Something is afoot. But this also reveals another side to Bernie, because folks probably would have expected him to really snatch up Jordan and really, like, tear into him or whatever, especially being how he was talking at the very beginning of the episode, and one being able to deduce that he probably grew up with that type of physical punishment, right? So you would expect him to resort back to that in a more primitive nature, right? But he doesn't. He tries out multiple options in the situation, and it doesn't turn out perfect, but he is successful one way or another, and he learns a lot of lessons in that moment. And in the process, Jordan is stripped down. He's trying to undress himself, and Barney has to think quickly and be very observant. Not only be observant, but be emotionally intuitive in order to deduce what is going on with Jordan, because all of that tough stuff is not going to work with him. It's only going to make it worse. He's not going to respond to that. So he has to respond in a more tender and more emotionally intuitive manner. And when he does, he realizes that Jordan has to go to the restroom. Now, is Jordan a peer out of anxiety? It's a possibility. And there are some other possibilities, but we're going to hold that thought. Anywho, Barney snatches up Jordan and is carrying him through the store, trying to get him to the bathroom. Now, what probably also happened is, I don't really know how I work in CVS because I don't go in CVS like that, but I do go in Walgreens. And I know that, especially back during that time, Walgreens is kind of different than certain Walgreens now, but Walgreens is very prominent for you having to go get an employee to come and unlock the door, or you having to go to an employee to give you a key in order to get into the bathroom. And that's probably what happened. He's trying to get him to the bathroom, and he get back to the bathroom, and the door is locked. And at that rate, it's too late. And so him trying to run back to go find an employee, he ends up at the counter, and by the time he's at the counter, Jordan is urinating. And actually, I kind of skipped another scene, so we're gonna have to backtrack a little bit again. Bear with me. But Barney had another confessional after he was telling them all the do's and don'ts of everything, right? So he had another confessional where he's like, oh yeah, y'all think I'm strict, but I don't play. Quit school because of recess. All that. And then he hears something break in the background. He got to run out and reprimand somebody. It's Jordan child. So he is on him. He's like, did I tell you not to touch that boy? Did I tell you not to do this? And like I said, he cannot handle Jordan like that. Jordan does not respond to that. You do that to Jordan, all of a sudden, he got a potty. So I do feel like that's a direct correlation right there. If you yell at Jordan, he's going to piss on himself. And I don't want to laugh at that because, like I said, I do feel like, well, it's a comedic, they are using it for a comedic element, but with it being a comedic element and enjoying the humor of it, I do also want to acknowledge and respect people who may have a similar experience where you have had a rough childhood, and as a result of that childhood, you got anxiety issues that give you issues like that, where as soon as you get nervous, overwhelmed, you might piss on yourself. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I just feel like, a lot of times we see certain people like that casually, and a lot of people may pass judgments on those people because of how they're reacting to situations. And it's not saying that you excuse every little thing they do if they're wrong, but it's just not being so judgmental and not being so dismissive, understanding that the person probably has experienced some type of trauma that has resulted in them having that type of reaction to things and that type of defect. Because like I said, I feel like some of those things are birth defects that Jordan has. Anywho, so he yells at him, and he has one of those moments of Jordan running off, having to deal with him and his breakdowns. And the store situation, I feel like really helped to put it in perspective to him that he is going to have to handle Jordan differently, especially after they get home and it's that night and he's laying in the bed with Wanda, and Wanda explains to him and reassures him, you did the best you can. And he was, feeling ashamed and embarrassed and all of that. And she was asking him some accountability questions as well, all at the same time, while comforting him and letting him know, like, that he's going to have to handle him differently. They have been through a lot. Ain't no telling the things that they've been through that you would never know. So he's not going to be able to snap Jordan into being a man. And you don't need to do that because he is 8. Let him be a little boy while he can. You hear Jordan coughing in the background, and then we get a montage of Bernie trying this different approach and committing to a regimen with him for his asthma, but also seemed like also for his emotions and the bonding of it all. And we see it gradually working, and we see Jordan finally sleeping through the night, and we see him and Jordan forming a more potent bond with each other. And then we pick up with Bernie and his friends. It's poker night or whatever. They got their cigars, and they, lightly clowning him on some Mr. Mom type stuff. But I love that this is not a dragging him, you a simp type conversation. I love that they show some reaffirmation of him doing the right thing and making the right adjustments by also showing him sitting amongst his male group of friends and them teasing him, but also being supportive of him in the process. I love it. And we see Bro Man from the 5th floor, and some old comedians that may be more well known to other people, but not very well known to me. But they doing their thing or whatever, and they like, yo, you want some kids? You could have came and got a couple of mine, child. You ain't even have to do all of that. And in the midst, them having a friendly, humorous conversation, Nessa walks in. She don't speak to nobody. She barely even look up. She grab the phone and she walk out. So one of his friends crack a joke like maybe she was trying not to be rude. So he ain't having it, because she did that in front of his friends. He felt an extra need to defend his authority, okay? So he drilling into a child, running behind her. Let me tell you something. You ain't gonna do this to me. You just gonna walk in there that I tell you can touch the phone. And Nessa is getting back with him. She is snapping back at him. She got jokes too. She said, baby, you told us not to touch the 808, not to touch Pulp Fiction, not to touch your Wu-Tang Clan and your Happy Rap and your James Brown. But you did not say that we could not touch the phone. So he like, ooh, she got a point. But that ain't the point. So he started trying to drill into her. She said ain't trying to hear that. She walking off down toward the bathroom, child, slam the door in his face. He all outside the door like, look, you ain't gonna be like this here. You gonna respect me. All this, that, and the third. I might not be your daddy, but I beat you like I was your daddy. She said, you go to jail like he was my daddy too. Ooh. Tisk. Boy, she tried it, boy. Boy, she tried it. But it made for a great scene. It made for a great scene and a great relatable moment as well. I'm sure a lot of people have experienced that. Whether with your own child or somebody else's child that you was trying to save. Now, something I want to point out about Nessa that I feel like just shines very brightly in this particular moment. Shout out to the actress. I feel like Nessa's reactions, her snapfire persona, her witty comebacks are not only indicative of her and Bernie's commonalities, but this is also indicative of her mimicking her mother, mimicking how she has learned to carry herself in a way and defend herself, if you will, from her mother. With those witty comebacks, got a smart mouth and even a sass about it. Because what she said, he was knocking on the door, she was on the phone, she was like, will you hold on? Which definitely sounds like somebody's mama. So she got that from her mama. So I may do a separate video that just talks about basically what we learn about Bernie Mac's sister, their mother, through the kids, through them, particularly Nessa. I might throw some things in there considering Jordan as well, but particularly with Nessa. What do we learn about their mother through Nessa? Oh yeah, we also learned from that scene that Nessa's daddy, and I can't remember just yet, but I can't remember if they all have the same daddy. No, Brianna has a different daddy. That I do remember. Okay, so I believe Nessa and Jordan have the same daddy, while baby girl has a different daddy. So Nessa and Jordan's daddy is in prison. So we learned that, okay? Stick a pin in it. So, at the end of that scene, also, Bernie walks away talking about he gonna bust her head to the white meat. Child. And he in the confessional talking about, yeah, I said it, ain't nobody gonna do nothing about it. Baby, the social worker showed up the next day. So the authoritator got to get authoritative, and they getting on him about spanking Jordan in the store. They getting on him about saying he's gonna bust Nessa head to the white meat. They getting on him about the big ass donut because he said big ass donut. And he's trying to defend himself. He like, bro, it ain't that bad, man. You overreacting, da da da. But y'all, it really don't sound good. And it is, some things that were like bound to happen in order for them to adjust. So I'm sure that's why he got the opportunity to adjust, right? But of course, he wanted to hold on to his ways, as most human beings would. You want to hold on to what's convenient for you. And the social worker, he's being very nice about it, but he's also sticking it to him like, these things are going to have to be adjusted in order for us to solidify their stay here. We got to make sure that they are getting the right examples, and that y'all are coming from a good place that is willing to make these adjustments for them. And it also occurs to the social worker to ask him if he is a smoker. He'll be smoking them cigars over there in his den. And even though, he just smoke them in the den, I feel like it still probably will have an effect on Jordan because of the residue. And if he's smoking them in there in the den, and the den is not that big, either way, he'd be in there with the door closed smoking them. So he'd be hotboxing the den, which means that the residue is in the atmosphere of his den. So whenever he open and close that door, he's letting residue in and out. And Jordan had stepped in that door before, so that still could, have an effect on Jordan, even though he's not smoking around him. So he may have to take extra precautions when doing that. But again, it's not a good look because Jordan also starts to cough his head off. And I'm sure that they got it in the papers that Jordan is pre-asthmatic. And child, we've been talking about Jordan and his conniptions, but Barney ends up having a whole conniption over the potential of having to give up his cigars. He's talking about babies. He never did nothing to nobody. Give us some privacy. Not the cameras. And I also feel like there's great continuity because at the very beginning in the intro, we got to see how much he values his moments with his cigars and his den. So we then flash to later that night, and he's in the bed, Wanda asleep. Baby girl comes in, and she like, I'm scared. And he like, what you scared for? She like, I'm scared of you. And he like, why you scared of me for? What I do? And she like, you told me not to touch your record, but I did. And I broke it. I didn't mean to, but I did. And so he's like, oh, that's okay. And I think she asked him, could he replace it? And he was like, it's replaceable. And she's like, it is? And he was like, no, it's not. But the important thing is that you told the truth. Even though you broke a rule, you told the truth. So I forgive you. And he was like, I'm sorry for putting you in a position to be afraid of me. I don't want you to be afraid of me. And she's like, I forgive you too. And see how we have this moment, and it seems like he was really taken aback by that. Like he was really shocked to have anyone, let alone this small child, say to him, I forgive you. And we're not gonna slide asleep on the fact that Bernie Mac, being in simple terms a big black man, he probably has a sensitive spot, whereas people have felt like they have to fear him just because he's a big black man. And so baby girl coming in there saying that she was scared of him, that probably really his heart. And then also him apologizing, having the strength and the maturity, also the heart, to apologize to this little girl. It really says something about a person when they are in the position of power, in the position of authority. They are the parent, if you will, and they are not beyond apologizing to the children involved. So this is a very, very, very meaningful, probably underrated moment that is had here, because I'm sure it's a lot of folks in their 50s, 60s, younger and older, waiting for deserved apologies from their parents that they will never get, because a lot of parents see something so wrong with apologizing, and they don't realize that they are and have taught their kids terrible values and done them so much trauma, so that could have been solved, if not avoided, with an apology. Something so simple, right? So we then get back to Bernie and his confessional, and Bernie feels quite redeemed and accomplishment, because he got off to a rough start. He got off to a rough start, but he feels very accomplished by his moment with Jordan, and even by that one very striking moment with baby girl. And he gives us a sum up of his lessons, and he's like, well, basically his lessons is him delivering it to us like it's our lesson. So he like, yeah, you see. Now, y'all thought it was all this and that, but when I say I want to bust them kids' heads to the white meat, I don't really mean that I want to bust their heads to the white meat. I love them kids. I ain't afraid to show how I really feel. Ain't nothing wrong with it. I'm still a man. I'm still hard. Because he feeling like I said, he feeling very accomplished, especially after having those mishaps, and him still trying to find the balance between clinging to what makes him feel comfortable and joy and great quality of life, and being there for the kids and making sure that they have a great quality of life as well. So, like I said, he's feeling very accomplished and full of himself, right? So in the midst of him saying that he don't mind being a bad guy, basically in order to get the job done, Nessa kind of creepily creeps in and it's like, sir. And by the time they pan back to look back at Nessa, she is now out of the doorway. And he's feeling even more accomplished, like, see, I did that. They got that. And then we also see Nessa walk out and go give Wanda a hug. So this lets us know that Wanda basically went and tied up those loose ends, just like black women tend to do, and just like any good wife that's married to a good man would do for her man and their nieces and nephews and anybody else that they over there caring about. Okay. So it just also lets you know, like, while he over there feeling all bucked up and he's talking about he did that, Wanda came in and picked up all of your slack and filled in your blanks. But I love the relationship that they show between him and Wanda as well. We don't get to see all of that in this episode, but in other episodes, they really give a good depiction of good black love. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. We got to finish the episode off with some comedy, right? So Jordan then comes in the room talking about he's sorry, too. And Bernie like, what you sorry for? And Jordan like, you don't know. So he thinks about it. Jordan take off running because Bernie don't realize what it is. And he take off running after him. Boy, we gotta get him. So what I feel like he's talking about is when he cut up in this stove. Now, I do still feel like elements of it was a part of his potential defects. But I also feel like, and what is, pretty much said in this moment, Nessa coached them to give Bernie the blues in this stove. So when Bernie thought about it, he like, oh, I'm gonna get you. Now, at the same time, because I just looked at that scene again, so it could be kind of open-ended, but at the same time, Jordan could have had just did something else, and he was trying to be noble, and he was like, oh, he don't know? Okay, let me go ahead and get out of here. And Bernie could have took off running after him because he like, oh, nah, what you done now? I'm gonna get it at you, whatever it is. Either way, that shit funny as hell. And child, at the very end, in the ending credits, we get a little quick funny scene from when Bernie was at the airport, and this look like grandparents couple walks up with their grandchild, and they like, do I know you? And the kid is like, yeah, that's Bernie Mac. I remember when you did that stand up and you was like, I ain't scared of yo. And Bernie cuts him off because evidently he's about to say something vulgar. And so he gotta cut him off and be like, hey, make sure you stay respectful to your grandparents. Stay respectful to your grandparents. And he walks out. So that's another implementation, funny as hell, but another implementation of showing like where Bernie is coming from. This very outspoken, vulgar comedian now being depicted as this family man. And we're gonna see what he brings out of it and what it brings out of him. And child, just to give a little quick rundown, because I done gave most of my commentary throughout, but just to give a quick little rundown of what we got from here, we got a very well-paced, well-rounded episode that really kicked off a great, heartfelt, and humorous, and real and relatable storyline of this wealthy man who has a wife, doing a great thing, taking in his sister's kids, and being great for them and helping them be great for themselves, all in the name of love, okay? All in the name of black love. Not just the romantic love, but love all the way around. And I feel like, I said the many ways that this show is so unique, but another way that this show is unique is that we usually see the men basically showing them having started their own family. However, this is a show that gives, and I kind of said it in the intro video, but this is a show that shows instead them not having any kids, having been just living their life of luxury, doing their thing, working, but still, just having the remainder of their time to themselves to be at leisure or whatever have you. And now all of a sudden, they're going out of their way and sacrificing a lot of their leisure to take in these kids and be great for them. And I feel like that is beautiful. And I feel like while we do have a lot more and a lot better examples of blackness in different shows and movies, I feel like I would love to see better examples of fathers and father figures, black fathers and father figures, in a lot of more modern content. Something I would definitely like to see be implemented more today, because I feel like it was honestly much more shown, more so in the 90s and the early 2000s. These father figures, great fathers, things of that nature, whereas now I don't see a whole lot of that depicted. Something to think about, something to talk about. But with all that being said, child, if I do say so myself, I have milked this cow dry, and I am thoroughly appreciative for the exchange of vibes. And if you're feeling synchronized, please do me a divine design and like, share, and subscribe, so that you can be one of the first to be back through these queenly quotas for the next time. And be sure to bless my comment section with your questions and conversations. And as always, I bid you all light, love, healing, and liberation. Emphasis on liberation. Mwah.